I'm Janet Wilson, 63 years old, and I never thought my retirement years would begin with such betrayal. After 40 years of building memories in our family home, I overheard my daughter-in-law, Amanda, whispering those cutting words at our annual summer barbecue. "Don't worry, she'll be in a nursing home soon enough, and this place will be ours." My heart stopped. The potato salad bowl nearly slipped from my hands. My son just stood there, silent. Before you continue with my story, let me know where you're watching from, and hit that subscribe button. The day Thomas and I purchased our two-story suburban home still feels like yesterday. We were so young, full of dreams, and determined to create a space where our family could thrive. For 40 years, that's exactly what we did. The large oak tree in the backyard grew alongside us, witnessing birthdays, graduations, and countless Sunday dinners. When Thomas passed away from a heart attack 2 years ago, I thought the hardest part of my life had begun. I was wrong. The real challenge came in the form of maintaining our family bonds without him as our anchor. My son Michael had always been the light of my life. As a single child, he received all my attention and love, especially after his father died. At 38, Michael had grown into a compassionate man, with Thomas's gentle eyes and my stubborn chin. He works as an engineering project manager, always methodical and thoughtful. 5 years ago, he married Amanda, a corporate lawyer, whose ambition and drive initially impressed me. She's tall, always impeccably dressed, with a smile that could charm anyone when she wanted to. Her intelligence was undeniable, but there was something calculated in her interactions that I tried to ignore for Michael's sake. Their twin daughters, Sophia and Lily, came along a year after their wedding. Those precious girls, with their matching pigtails and contagious giggles, became my reason to push through grief after Thomas died. I babysat them 3 days a week, while Michael and Amanda worked cherishing our baking sessions and the fairy tales we read in the garden swing. In the beginning, Amanda seemed appreciative of my help. I even contributed to their mortgage payments when they struggled to find an apartment in their preferred school district. Family helps family. That's what Thomas and I always believed. What I kept from everyone were my minor health concerns. The arthritis in my right knee sometimes made climbing stairs challenging, and occasionally I'd forget small things, like where I'd placed my reading glasses or if I'd taken my blood pressure medication. Nothing serious, but enough to make me worry about my independence. I first noticed Amanda's subtle impatience about 6 months after Thomas passed. She would interrupt me mid-sentence during family dinners, roll her eyes when I shared stories about the twins' day with me, and sigh loudly when I couldn't immediately recall a name or date. I brushed it off as stress from her demanding career, but a seed of unease had been planted. The controlling behavior began so gradually, I almost didn't notice. Amanda started taking over family gatherings, insisting we celebrate at their apartment instead of my home because it was more convenient for the girls. When I offered to host Thanksgiving, she claimed the twins had developed allergies to something in my house, though they seemed perfectly fine during their regular visits. One afternoon, while picking up the girls for our weekly library trip, I overheard Amanda on the phone with a friend. I swear, dealing with my mother-in-law is like having a third child. She means well, but God, she's becoming such a burden. The words stung like a physical slap. I pretended I hadn't heard when she emerged from the kitchen, but something shifted in my heart that day. Michael noticed the tension, but chose the path of least resistance. When I mentioned Amanda's comment about the supposed allergies, he rubbed his neck nervously and mumbled, "You know how protective she is about the girls." His eyes wouldn't meet mine, and I recognized the same conflict avoidance pattern his father had displayed. The accidental exclusions from family events began soon after. Michael's birthday dinner was rescheduled without my knowledge. "Oh, Mom, I thought Amanda told you we moved it to Saturday," he'd say, looking genuinely confused. A trip to the zoo with the twins happened without me, because Amanda thought I wasn't feeling well that day. The pattern became unmistakable. Amanda's concerns about my ability to safely care for the twins surfaced next. "Janet, did you forget to put sunscreen on the girls yesterday? They looked a little red," she'd say, though I'd applied it twice. Or, "Did Sophia tell you she fell while you were watching TV? She has a bruise on her knee." Small accusations that made me question my own memory and competence. I began noticing small things moved in my home after they visited. My collection of antique teacups, rearranged family photo albums relocated to higher shelves, financial documents that had been in my desk drawer somehow migrating to the hall table. When questioned, Amanda would say, "Oh, I was just helping you organize while the girls napped." The real estate brochures appeared around month 8. Glossy pamphlets featuring luxury retirement living and assisted care communities would mysteriously materialize on my coffee table or tucked into my magazine rack. When I mentioned them, Amanda would smile sweetly and say, "I just thought they looked interesting." It's always good to know your options, right? Her comments about my house being too big for one person and such a challenge to maintain at your age became more frequent. She'd point out dusty corners I'd missed, or mention the dangerous loose step on the back porch that Thomas had always meant to fix. Despite these warning signs, I couldn't bring myself to believe the worst. This was my son's wife, the mother of my grandchildren. Surely she had my best interests at heart, even if her approach lacked tact. I kept making excuses for her behavior, desperately clinging to the family harmony I'd fought so hard to preserve after losing Thomas. The annual summer barbecue had been a tradition in our neighborhood for over 30 years. Thomas had always manned the grill, a silly King of BBQ apron tied around his waist. This was my second year hosting without him, and I was determined to make it perfect. I spent 3 days preparing. The potato salad was Thomas's secret recipe. The ribs marinated overnight in my special sauce. I hung string lights around the patio and filled mason jars with freshly cut daisies from my garden. The weather cooperated beautifully. 78 degrees with a gentle breeze that carried the scent of blooming jasmine from the side yard. The party began at 4, and soon my backyard was filled with the comfortable chatter of neighbors and friends. The Johnsons from across the street brought their famous peach cobbler. My sister, Patricia, drove in from Westfield with her husband, Frank. Even Michael's childhood friend, David, showed up with his new wife. Amanda arrived looking stunning in a blue sundress, organizing the twins in matching outfits with red ribbons in their hair. She greeted everyone warmly, complimenting Mrs. Rodriguez on her weight loss and asking about Mr. Peterson's recent retirement. The perfect daughter-in-law performance. Michael hugged me tightly when they arrived. "Place looks great, Mom. Dad would be proud." His words brought tears to my eyes, but I blinked them away and squeezed his arm affectionately. Around 6, I realized we were running low on potato salad. I excused myself from a conversation with my neighbor and headed into the kitchen. The sliding glass door to the patio had been left partially open, and as I scooped the remaining salad into a serving bowl, I heard Michael and Amanda's voices just outside. "Your mother's really slipping, Michael. Did you notice she put salt in the lemonade instead of sugar? And she called Lily by your name twice today." Amanda's voice was low but clear. "She's just getting older, babe. Everyone makes mistakes." Michael responded, though his tone lacked conviction. "It's more than that, and you know it. Last week she left the stove on all night. What if there had been a fire? What if the girls had been staying over?" Amanda's voice grew more insistent. "What do you want me to do? She's my mother." "We've talked about this. Don't worry, she'll be in a nursing home soon enough, and this place will be ours. Just think about it. The girls could have separate rooms, we could finally renovate that outdated kitchen, and we wouldn't have to worry about her hurting herself or the twins." There was a moment of silence. I stood frozen, the potato salad bowl, cold against my suddenly numb fingers. "I just feel guilty," Michael finally said. "This has been her home for so long. She can't take care of herself anymore, Michael, let alone this big house. It's the responsible thing to do. Plus, you're her only heir. It makes financial sense." The potato salad bowl nearly slipped from my hands. I set it down with a soft thud, my heart hammering wildly. I'd never left the stove on. The salt in the lemonade was actually a stevia packet that looked similar to the sugar ones. And I'd called Lily by her sister's name, not Michael's. The lies were deliberate. I took several deep breaths, smoothed my apron, and picked up the bowl again. When I pushed open the door with my hip and smiled at the gathered guests, no one could have guessed that my entire world had just collapsed. For the next 2 hours, I moved through the party like a ghost. I smiled when appropriate refilled drinks and accepted compliments on the food. But I couldn't stop watching Amanda's fake concern when she loudly asked if I needed to sit down because I looked tired. I couldn't miss Michael's guilty glances when he thought I wasn't looking. After the last guest left, I declined Michael's offer to help clean up. "You take those sleepy girls home," I insisted, kissing my granddaughters' foreheads. "I'll just load the dishwasher and head to bed." Amanda hugged me stiffly. "Wonderful party, Janet. Don't overdo it with the cleanup." Once they drove away, I sank into Thomas's old patio chair and finally let the tears come. Our home. My home. The place where I'd watched Michael take his first steps. Where Thomas and I had danced in the kitchen on our 30th anniversary. Where I'd imagined growing old with dignity and peace. That night, sleep never came. I replayed their conversation over and over, each word cutting deeper than the last. The casual cruelty of it, the assumption of my decline, the eager planning for my absence, and my son's weak resistance that ultimately gave way to compliance. The days following the barbecue blurred together in a haze of grief. I moved through my routines mechanically, watering the garden, sorting laundry, preparing meals for one. But inside, I was shattered. The betrayal cut deeper than any pain I'd ever experienced, even Thomas's death. Death is natural, inevitable. But being discarded by your own child feels fundamentally wrong, a violation of the natural order of things. I spent hours in Michael's childhood bedroom, now a guest room, but still containing shelves of his trophies and books. I remembered the nights spent nursing him through fevers, the countless school projects we'd completed at the kitchen table, the way he'd cried on my shoulder after his first heartbreak. After Thomas left, when Michael was just 7, I'd worked 2 jobs to keep this roof over our heads, teaching elementary school during the day and waitressing 3 nights a week. I'd sacrificed dating and social life to attend every soccer game and parent-teacher conference. My entire existence had revolved around giving Michael security and love. Now, I questioned whether any of it had mattered. Had I raised a son who valued me only for what I could provide? Had I failed to teach him loyalty and respect? Or was Amanda's influence just that powerful? My friend Deborah came by with groceries on the 3rd day, immediately sensing something was wrong. Over coffee at my kitchen table, the whole story spilled out. "You need to confront them," she said firmly, her teacher's voice leaving no room for argument. "Michael needs to know you heard everything." "And then what?" I asked, twisting my wedding ring, a habit from 40 years of marriage. "Force my son to choose between his mother and his wife. What about my granddaughters?" Fear of losing access to Sophia and Lily kept me paralyzed. Amanda already limited my time with them. If I confronted her schemes, would she cut me off completely? That night, I searched online for information about elder rights and financial independence. I discovered numerous articles about adult children taking advantage of aging parents, pressuring them out of their homes for financial gain. The pattern was so common, it sickened me. The next morning, I called my doctor for an appointment. Dr. Rivera had been my physician for 15 years and knew my medical history thoroughly. "Physically, you're in excellent health for a woman of 63, she told me after a comprehensive examination. "Your blood pressure is better than mine, your cognition tests are perfect, and that knee arthritis is mild. You could easily live independently for another 20+ years." "My daughter-in-law seems to think I need assisted living," I admitted. Dr. Rivera's eyebrows shot up. "Based on what medical assessment? Apparently, I'm forgetful and unsafe." She shook her head. "Janet, I've been doing this for 30 years. You're nowhere near requiring assisted living, not even close." Her confirmation was both validating and infuriating. Amanda's claims weren't just unkind. They were complete fabrications. I sat in my car in the clinic parking lot, hands gripping the steering wheel, and experienced a moment of absolute clarity. I would not be a victim in this scenario. I would not be manipulated out of my home and independence. I would not spend my remaining years in an institution I didn't need, while Amanda renovated my kitchen. With newfound determination, I drove directly to Lakeside Realty and asked for their top agent. The real estate agent, Sylvia Ramirez, was a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s who radiated competence. I explained that I needed a quick, discreet sale with minimal fuss. "I can list the property tomorrow," she said, after walking through my immaculately maintained home. "In this market, especially with this location and the condition of your property, we should expect multiple offers immediately." Next, I met with James, my financial advisor. Thomas and I had always been careful with money. Between his life insurance, our retirement savings, and my teacher's pension, I was in a stronger financial position than I'd realized. "The house is completely paid off," James confirmed, reviewing my portfolio. "Current market value would be between $850,000 and $920,000. That's nearly double what you and Thomas paid for it." The attorney I consulted, Mr. Blackwell, clarified my legal position. "It's your property, Mrs. Wilson. Your son has no legal claim to it while you're alive, regardless of any assumptions he and his wife might have made." Armed with this knowledge, I began searching for a new home. My sister Patricia lived in a beautiful beach community about 300 miles south. We'd always talked about living closer in our retirement years. When I called to explain the situation, her response was immediate. "I'm looking at properties for you tomorrow. There's a lovely single-story just 2 streets over from us. Ocean view from the sunroom." Over the next 2 weeks, I maintained a perfectly normal facade. I babysat the twins, attended a neighborhood book club, and even hosted Sunday dinner for Michael's family, all while secretly organizing my escape. I set up new bank accounts at a different financial institution. I digitized important family photos and documents. At night, after confirming Michael and Amanda weren't planning to visit, I carefully packed my most treasured possessions: Thomas's watch collection, my grandmother's china photo albums, and irreplaceable mementos from Michael's childhood. Patricia drove up one weekend, and we filled her SUV with these precious items, telling the neighbors she was borrowing some of my gardening equipment. The rest would be handled by professional movers after the sale. The beach house Patricia found was perfect: a 2-bedroom cottage with bright rooms, a manageable garden, and a sunroom that caught the morning light. It was smaller than my current home, but felt exactly right for this new chapter. When I made an offer, it was accepted immediately. Meanwhile, Sylvia had been right about my house. 3 days after listing, I had 7 offers, all above asking price. I accepted a cash offer with a 30-day closing period from a young doctor and his wife who were expecting their first child. There was something poetic about a new family beginning their story where mine was ending. As papers were signed and arrangements made, my emotions fluctuated wildly. Guilt about not telling Michael competed with righteous anger over the betrayal. Anxiety about the unknown battled excitement about my fresh start. But underlying everything was a growing sense of empowerment. For the first time since Thomas died, I was fully in control of my destiny. With the closing date set and the movers scheduled, I had 25 days before my new life would begin. 25 days to reveal the truth and face the consequences. The evening I chose for the revelation was mild and clear. I prepared all of Michael's favorites: roast beef with Yorkshire pudding, garlic green beans, and chocolate bread pudding for dessert. I set the dining room table with my best china, possibly for the last time. Michael, Amanda, and the twins arrived at 6. Sophia ran to hug my legs, while Lily showed me a drawing she'd made at preschool. Amanda's eyes immediately narrowed, scanning the room. "Did you rearrange the furniture, Janet? Something looks different." She was noticing the absence of the antique side table and the paintings that had already been packed. I smiled. "Just a bit of spring cleaning." Throughout dinner, I maintained easy conversation, asking about Michael's current project and Amanda's recent court case. I served seconds of everything and delighted in watching my granddaughters attempt to use their forks properly, remembering how Michael had struggled with the same skill at their age. After clearing the dessert plates, I retrieved an envelope from my desk drawer. My hands trembled slightly as I returned to the table where Michael was helping Lily wipe chocolate from her chin. "I have something for you both," I said, placing the envelope in the center of the table. Amanda reached for it first, her perfect manicure breaking the seal. She pulled out the documents, her expression shifting from curiosity to confusion to shock as she scanned the contents. "What is this?" she demanded, voice sharp enough to make the twins look up in alarm. "The sale documents for the house," I answered calmly, "and a letter explaining why." Michael took the papers from his wife's suddenly rigid fingers. "Mom, what are you talking about? You're selling the house when why?" "It's already sold. Closing is in 25 days." I looked directly at Amanda. "Which means you have 25 days to find new housing arrangements." "What do you mean, new housing arrangements?" Michael's voice rose in panic. "I mean that I overheard your conversation at the barbecue about me being in a nursing home soon and this place being yours." The words hung in the air like glass shards. Michael's face drained of color. "Mom, that wasn't... We didn't mean..." "I never said that." Amanda interjected her denial immediate. "Yes, you did," I replied, maintaining my composure. "You also claimed I left the stove on all night, which never happened. You said I put salt in the lemonade instead of sugar, when it was actually stevia. You've been laying groundwork to convince Michael I'm incompetent." "This is ridiculous," Amanda sputtered, turning to Michael. "She's clearly confused. This proves my point about her mental state." Michael stared at the table, unable to meet anyone's eyes. "Amanda, did you really say those things?" The slight hesitation before her next denial was all the confirmation he needed. "How could you do this?" he finally asked, looking up at me with hurt and confusion. "This is our home. Where are we supposed to go in 25 days? The same place I was supposed to go, apparently. Figure it out." My voice remained steady, though inside I was breaking. "I've purchased a house near Patricia. I'll be moving at the end of the month." "You can't do this," Amanda said, her lawyer persona emerging. "We'll contest the sale. We have rights." "Actually, I've spoken with several attorneys. You have no legal claim to my property. The sale is binding." "What about the girls?" Michael asked, gesturing to the twins, who were becoming increasingly distressed by the adult tension. They love this house. Their friends are here. I love my granddaughters more than anything, I said, my voice softening. They're welcome to visit me anytime, but this house is no longer available as your backup plan. Amanda stood abruptly, chair scraping against hardwood. We're leaving. Come on, girls. As they gathered their things, Michael lingered behind. Mom, I never wanted. I know you didn't initiate this, Michael, but your silence was agreement. You were willing to put me away and take my home. The words tasted bitter. Thomas would be ashamed. He flinched as if I'd struck him. Without another word, he followed his family out the door. That night was my first of many last moments in the house. I walked through each room, trailing my fingers along walls that had witnessed 4 decades of my life. I sat in Thomas's reading chair and imagined him telling me I'd done the right thing, that I deserved respect and dignity. By morning, the grief had transformed into a strange, peaceful acceptance. The hardest step had been taken. The beach cottage welcomed me with light and possibility. Large windows filled the rooms with sunshine, and the constant sound of waves provided a soothing backdrop to my days. Within a week, I'd unpacked my essential belongings and arranged my new space. The rest of my possessions arrived gradually, each box a decision about what to keep in this streamlined life. My sister, Patricia, and her husband, Frank, lived close enough to walk over for morning coffee, but far enough to maintain our independence. She introduced me to her friends, and soon I was invited to book clubs, community garden meetings, and local theatre events. Meanwhile, the fallout from my decision continued. Michael called daily. At first, his messages evolving from angry accusations to reluctant understanding. Amanda sent a formal letter through her law firm demanding reconsideration of the sale, which my attorney promptly dismissed. I learned through Patricia's daughter that Michael and Amanda had moved into a rental apartment while they searched for a house in their price range, significantly smaller than what they had envisioned inheriting from me. The real estate market had shifted, making their situation more challenging. For the twins' sake, I established regular video calls twice a week. I sent them care packages with seashells and stories about my beach adventures. After 2 months, I suggested meeting at a park, halfway between our new homes. Amanda reluctantly agreed, likely pressured by Michael. Those monthly visits became our new normal. Awkward at first, with Amanda maintaining cold civility and Michael struggling between loyalty to his wife and love for his mother. But the twins' joy at seeing me broke through some of the tension. 6 months into my new life, I discovered an unexpected talent for garden design. My small front yard had become a showpiece in the neighborhood, and neighbors began asking for advice. This evolved into a small consulting business, giving me purpose and supplemental income. The beach community embraced me fully. I joined a senior swimming group that met at sunrise 3 times a week. I volunteered at the local library reading to children. I even accepted a dinner invitation from Robert, a widower who taught marine biology at the community college. My social life became richer than it had been in years. 8 months after my move, Michael came to visit alone. We walked along the shoreline, watching pelicans dive for fish. "I'm sorry, Mom," he said finally, voice nearly lost in the crash of waves. "I should have stood up for you." "Yes, you should have." I agreed, neither accusatory nor forgiving yet. "Amanda and I are in counseling. After what happened, I started seeing patterns I'd been ignoring. Her control issues, the manipulation. It's not just about you." I nodded, unsurprised. "And how are things now?" "Better in some ways, harder in others. The apartment is cramped. We're both working overtime to save for a down payment." He kicked at a shell. "I miss the house. The girls ask about their old rooms all the time." "I miss you all too," I admitted. "But Michael, what you and Amanda were planning to do was wrong. I'm in perfect health. Dr. Rivera confirmed it. I could have lived independently in that house for 20 more years." His shame was evident in his slumped shoulders. "I know. I let Amanda convince me you were declining because it was convenient to believe it, because it solved our housing problem, because it was easier than standing up to her." He looked at me directly. "It was selfish and cowardly." That conversation began our real healing. Not instant forgiveness, but a path toward it. Michael visited more frequently after that, sometimes bringing the twins, but never Amanda. He explained she was working through her issues, but remained embarrassed and angry. I understood it would take time if reconciliation was possible at all. The hardest lesson for me wasn't about betrayal, but about self-worth. For too long after Thomas died, I defined myself as simply a widow, a mother, a grandmother. I'd forgotten that I was still Janet Wilson, a woman with her own dreams, strengths, and right to happiness. My beach cottage became not a consolation prize, but a victory monument. Each morning, watching the sunrise over the ocean reminded me that new beginnings are possible at any age. Each dinner with friends or evening spent reading in my sunroom reinforced that my life had value and purpose independent of my role in my son's family. True security, I realized, comes not from property or even family bonds, but from knowing your own worth and having the courage to demand respect. The pain of Michael and Amanda's betrayal would always be part of my story, but it no longer defined my future. Yesterday marked 1 year since I moved. My garden is in full bloom, my consulting business has a waiting list, and Robert has become a dear companion. Michael brings the twins for weekend visits now, and we're rebuilding our relationship on healthier ground. Amanda sent a card last week, her first direct communication in a year. Just a brief note acknowledging the anniversary and hoping I was well. A small step, but perhaps a beginning. As I look back on this challenging year, I'm reminded that sometimes the most painful endings lead to the most beautiful beginnings. Have you ever had to make a difficult decision that ultimately led to unexpected happiness? Share your story in the comments below. And if you found value in my experience, please like this video and subscribe to hear more stories of resilience and reinvention. Remember, it's never too late to stand up for yourself and create the life you deserve. Thank you for listening, and may you find the courage to protect your own worth, just as I found mine.